Cool. Looks like we might be live. Okay, let's do this thing. Canvas, announcement. We are live for week 3. Live link. Publish. Hey, first viewer. Sup, Matthew? How you doing? Let's send that to Discord. That's everyone. We are live for week 3. Yes, I would like to ping 600 people. I'll only be able to catch the start live, so is there anything we need to do for the stream? Yeah, watch it. So, watch the recording. We're gonna hit some admin really quickly that you're gonna see that is probably redundant to you, but I'm only trying to spend like max 10 minutes on that. Then I'm going to release assessment 2, your first report, your first real assessment for the course. And we're going to talk about that for a while. And then we're going to do a worked example together of the engineering method, which you're going to need for your report as well. So most of the time, these live streams are like, come and get help if you need it. This one's going to have a whole bunch of stuff in it that's super important. So obviously, they're a little less engaging to watch live. Watching recorded versions of anything live is never quite as good, but you can watch it on double speed, I guess. Yeah, make sure you catch up on this one. Most of the time, it's okay to miss them, but this one, catch up. Oh, today's topic. Go. I think we just went through that. Time for Red Bull. I have a can of V today. V was on special, so I got a can of V. Yep, in chat's still busted. They shouldn't be. They should all be sorted. If everybody is in, I went through Tuesday night, and I thought they were all good. So if your team chat is not set, it means one of your team members isn't in yet. I wish I still had a Red Bull sponsorship. Working with Red Bull is the best. Let me know what team you think you're in, Rev, or at me in that team in the next like 2 or 3 minutes, and I'll see if I can figure out what's wrong with it. V Blue is strictly worse. It's just non-negotiably worse. Your completely subjective opinion is entirely wrong. Is it Pi Day? I didn't know it was Pi Day. Hey, it is Pi Day. That's fun. Yeah, I prefer just the normal Red Bull. I don't think any variation that they've done to normal Red Bull has ever been better. Traditional Red Bull is the best. Traditional V is the best. I'm an R about the different flavors of Mother. I like playing Barbarians and Rogues when I play D&D. Barbarians are my favorite. I just find them so much fun, but I really like playing Rogues as well. Oh, happy birthday to Lane's dad, who I've never met. Is it a problem that your robot loves to eat walls? You will find out in your competency next week that most robots love to eat walls at this stage. Yeah, it's a thing. You'll get better at it. It's okay. It's It's a thing that virtually all the bots do at the start, and then you'll get better at working through how to process the data from the world so that you can eat walls a little less often. But the number of times you crash between now and test day will probably be in the thousands. Pass was cancelled, wasn't it? Didn't Emma make a post saying that Pass was cancelled for one of the days this week? Hey guys, this will be my last ping to all of you. Wait, that's talking about the Pass channels. Yeah, Pass will be held Mondays and Fridays. I've got a slide on it actually. Where's my Pass slide? Yeah, somewhere in here. I don't know. Somewhere in here. There it is. Pass update. 2 classes, Monday and Friday. And there's a self-sign up Discord role so that you can get pinged so that M doesn't have to ping everybody anymore. Discord for the win. Interesting. I'm going to get rid of that. How many minutes do I have? I got a couple of minutes. Nah, nah, nah. Very interesting. It seems that there are 4 people in that team. We might need to fix that specific aero chat question on in your workshop next week, but I'll have a look between now and then and try and figure it out for you. I'll have a chat to it's Josh, right? Yeah, I'll have a chat to Josh, see what's going on. Justin wondering where the pass announcement was sent in Discord in the pass channel. Pass channel. I should close that. So Emma added students today at 11:28. I'm going to skip to this slide because I've been asked what's happening today like 3 times, which is totally valid. It's a very valid question. That's what's happening today. Is it possible to fail the competency? Yes, most of you will fail the competency. So most of you will try the competency and realize that it's much, much, much harder than you thought. And it won't work very well. And that's fine. That's absolutely intentional. There are no marks associated to completing the competency. There are marks associated to learning something from attempting the competency. So, to use the example that's already gone up from John, that his robot, its whole job is to not run into the walls during the competency. And he's just admitted that it loves running into walls, and it's probably going to run into the walls when he tests it for his competency. And that's fine. So it's not going to work. I mean, good luck to you, John. It might work, but it's not going to work. And then what I want to see is that he can then talk about, okay, this is why it didn't work. This is what I've learned. This is what I'm going to do differently for actual testing in week 12. That's the whole value of the competency. It's not that you achieve the goal. It's that you learn a bunch of things whilst failing to achieve the goal. So don't stress about, oh no, it didn't work. The sky is not going to fall in on you if your competency doesn't work. It's about learning something as you go. What's my favorite sport? Cricket. It used to be football. I used to play a lot of rugby league when I was much fitter and stronger than I am now, and that was my favorite. But overall, since I was a kid, it's probably been cricket. It is probably now. Would I recommend going to pass this early in semester? Depends. Depends on how you motivate yourself to work. If you're doing fine, then you're doing fine. If you're really struggling to get started, and some people are like that, they just can't start. Once they get started, they're great. Everything's fine. Then maybe going to pass is really good for you. Or maybe you've got a couple of questions that you just haven't been able to get an answer to. You don't know where to look. You don't know who to ask. Go to pass. Emma will hopefully be able to guide you in that case. I wouldn't recommend it for everybody. I wouldn't recommend it for a lot of people. But then there's other people who I would say, yeah, it's a brilliant idea. Absolutely go. It's very, do you need to go to pass? I know that doesn't answer your question. I'm sorry, but I can't give you a hard answer to that one. UN's shuttle bus is always not on time. Yep, that doesn't surprise me. Okay, we might need to look into that. Let your tutor know in week 4. If they're not there again, we might have to do something about that. How do we unfail the competency? We learn. We learn and we learn. That is how we unfail. We talk about learning during the competency in the report assessment, right? Correct. 100% correct. And you're going to see that in like 15 minutes time, 20 minutes time, something like that. We'll be talking about exactly that fact. Yeah, I know, but it's been a rich last couple of summers. You need a reminder on how to use the printer? Yeah, look, just go and print some test pages. You'll figure it out. What's PASS? PASS is peer assisted study session. Is that what it is? It's peer assisted something. It's like kind of like a bonus tutorial that you can go to, not to work on the tutorial content, but to just get a little bit of help with what's been coming up in the lectures, what direction should you be pointing in, that type of stuff, in a smaller environment than this. If you've printed off the stuff for Aero, you're going to be in front of most people. You'll be fine. FK farming? Yeah, that's fair. All right, it's 5:04. I think we're okay. Let me just check that all of the things on this end are fine, which they must be fairly fine because you guys are all in the chat. So let's get into it. Okay. So I think we've all been through that. This is fine. We're on the running schedule anyway. So what we're going to hit today is a little bit of key admin. I'm hoping this is now like maybe 5 or 10 minutes. We've actually already spoken about like 2 of the things that are my admin stuff. And then we're going to spend a good chunk of time talking about your assignment. So I'm going to soft release it today. I'm going to officially release it tomorrow, but I'm going to make it available today. Why am I not officially releasing it? If you find a typo in the next 24 hours or something that you're like, hey, Dylan, I don't know what this sentence means. I think it's constructed poorly. I'll edit a typo or 2 between now and tomorrow. But I'm releasing it today. So we're going to talk about that. And that's going to happen every time I release a new assignment. In the live stream, I'm going to dedicate a decent chunk of time to talking about it so you know what's going on. Yes, there is a document that goes with it, but just reading the document is hard. Talking whilst we read the document and I break it down for you is going to mean you understand the objective here much, much clearer, and thus will mean you'll get much, much more marks. So we're doing that today, and then we'll do that in the future as well. And then we're going to do a design thinking exercise together. So in the lecture this week, we talked about the engineering design process. You sat there and you listened to me talking about the engineering design process. This time we're going to do something together with your feedback on stream. We're going to design something. It's a very carefully curated example. And we're going to kind of use this as a fun process to go through, but it's also going to help you feed some stuff into your report. So that is our attack plan at this stage. Let's hit some admin highlights. Cognate flow diagrams. All right, so these are a thing that I helped have a hand in getting you guys all made last year. What this thing is a tech tree for your course. You're going to take, in a normal engineering degree, this just happens to be the one for aerospace, it's just the first one in the list, so it's the one that I grabbed. When you look at your courses in the stupid program handbook, it just lists 32 courses in like alphabetical order or something dumb like that. And I think the stupid program planner does the same thing. And it doesn't give you any indication of how all of your courses fit together. So this is something that a guy called Bill McBride has been working on these for many years. He's a professor in engineering. He's a role model, exemplar, brilliant guy who's been doing these for students for a number of years. What this is all of your subjects mapped out graphically. And it's got connections between them. So you can see ENGG1500 leads into ENGG2500, which you take in second year, first semester, and then ENGG3500 that fits in here. And that's kind of obvious isn't even necessarily the right word, but that's somewhat self-explanatory there. But then it shows all of your other things, like your maths courses leading into each other, but more complex things like how math leads into dynamics of machines and all sorts of other joints like that. So what you can do with something like this is see how, hopefully how, hey, I want to do machine design when I get out of this place. Oh, better pay attention in maths. Okay, that probably makes sense, but if that didn't make sense to you before, there's some really obvious connections. The other thing that it shows you is, hey, I didn't take, for example, ENGG1500 first semester, first year. I don't know how you would get this lecture without having taken it, but let's say that you didn't. How else could I restructure my program so that although I'm taking things a little bit out of order, I don't mess any of the tech tree up? This is it. This is how you do it. These things are super duper useful. So they exist for all of the current engineering degrees, and I put them in Discord for you. So if you go into Discord, I'll just bring this over for you. In Discord, in course links, this zip file should have all of the tech trees in it. I hope this works. Yeah, it's a zip file, which means your computer should warn you that this is a dangerous thing to download from Discord, which is fair. They should all be in here, and you should be able to pick your degree. This is Master of Professional Engineering. You can ignore the MPEs, but they should hopefully all be here. You don't need them. These are not required for you. They're not part of this course necessarily in any way, but they're a thing that students have said are really, really helpful things to have, and we didn't have a good way of sharing them with students. So I said I'll share them with all of my students, and that way everybody has them. So there you go. They're cognate flow diagrams. They're super duper useful. That's it. I think that's all there is to it. You can access them on Discord. Any questions about that, chuck them up, but I think they're somewhat self-explanatory. We've already spoken about pass, but just to put it in the main body bit of the live stream here, again, if you want to be part of pass and you want to get the notifications, go to Discord, go to pass sign up. We only created this yesterday, and react to this role. When you react to this, you will get given the pass role, and then M can tag pass, and you will get notifications from there. And that way M doesn't have to tag at everyone anymore. So sorry for the first couple of weeks of this before we got this all figured out, where Emma was having to tag everyone, and whether you wanted to go to pass or not, you were getting the notifications. Now you can self-sign up to the pass thing. You can self-unsign up as well if you decide in 4 or 5 weeks time, like, I just don't need this anymore, and you don't want to get the notifications, you're more than welcome to unsign up there. And if you have questions, go and chuck them in that past Discord channel. Is there a cognate flow diagram for software? Oh, there might not be. There might not be. Can you send me that question separately, either as a Discord actually no, send it as an email so I can forward it on to someone. There may not be one for software. We made these for an accreditation process, which software goes through a different accreditation process. So it may or may not exist. I will ask for you though, and I'll try and find out. There is one? Oh, fantastic. I wasn't sure about that. I mean, I could have just opened the thing up, but sick. Thank you, everybody. Any questions on the past stuff? I know there was a couple questions about it before we started. It's the largest file, of course. Of course it is. Yeah, any questions on pass, or are we good? Good. Looks like that is fine. So just go to pass sign up and react if you want to get pass notifications. On the Discord, if you're in this video at the moment and you haven't gotten past the registration channel in Discord, please go and put your student number in. It's really important that you put your student number in the registration channel and you get access to the Discord. It's been a month. This is a joke. Get it done. All right. Please get in the Discord. If you want to ask me a question, wherever possible, please, if it's a thing that might be relevant to other students, hey, where do I find this information? Hey, is there anything I need to do to prepare for this class or something like that? Put it in a general channel. If you send me that as an email, and I've been getting quite a few of these types of questions as emails, whilst I'm happy to answer them, I'm 2 or 3 days behind on my emails at best, which means you're not going to get an answer in a time that is relevant to you. Remember, the first place I always go is the Discord general channels whenever I get time to help ENGG1500 students. Outside of this 2 hour window, it will always be the general on topic is where I will go first, followed by, sorry, I didn't mean to do that, followed by the project channel. So if you have a question, please put them in there. I'm going to answer you as fast as humanly possible if you do that, and it benefits everybody in the course. Cool. Cool. I've deleted, I think, 2 or 3 posts. Two of them, I think, were people posting memes in the general channel. You have a memes channel, put them in the fucking memes channel. It's not that. Please post in the appropriate channel. Like, I have no problems with you posting memes. I made you a channel specifically for that. Please put it in the right spot. I deleted something because somebody tagged me 3 times in like a 2 hour period. Like, spamming me isn't going to help you. I'm actively just going to delete those posts, so don't do that. But it hasn't been a big deal. Don't worry. No, basically none of you have done the wrong thing. You're all good. Overall, I actually wanted to put this in to say I'm really happy with how well all of you have been using the Discord. It's been extremely good. The overwhelming majority of you are in. You've done the right thing. It's been fantastic. I've been loving it. Please continue to do the right thing so that we can continue to use it more. And I'll ban you if you do the wrong thing. Yep. If your team chat isn't private and all of you are now in because there was whatever, stuff happens in the first couple weeks, that's fine. You can at me and I can make it private for you or get it made private in your next workshop. Pinned comments. This isn't a thing we've spoken about, but it's a thing that you should all know. Where have I pinned a comment? I pinned a comment in here. So if, for example, if you happen to have Discord open, it doesn't super duper matter, but you can do what's called pinning a comment. So in a channel that might have heaps and heaps and heaps of chatter in it, if you want a comment to not just get buried immediately, you can pin it. And by that I mean I can pin it often. And then there's a button in the top of Discord where you can go view all pinned comments. This is super duper useful in your team chats when you want to post something and not have it get lost. If you don't want it to get lost, pin it. You are allowed to pin things in your own private team channels. You can't pin something in general. I can. You can't. But you can pin stuff in your own private team channels. It's a really helpful thing to do. The other thing is in like an assignment help question channel or something like that, which is about to appear. I'll pin important information in that channel. So if you have a question and you think it might have already been answered somewhere, view the pinned comments first. So it's just an extra bit of functionality not everybody knows exists. Yeah, are the tech tree diagrams still mostly relevant for combined degrees? Yeah, they are. They absolutely are. You just have to do a little bit of your own merging of the two things together in your head. But yes, they're 99% still relevant. You're in your team channel and you just got your group, however, you're still in the other team channels. Yes. Okay. So the way that the team channels works is everybody starts in all of them and then we privatize individual channels. So if you're in a channel that you can see that you shouldn't be able to see, that's the fault of the people in that channel not having made their channel private yet. So somebody is missing or something like that, or they haven't added me and said, Dylan, can you make this private? They will disappear as those other people do the right thing and get their channels made private. But the only one you need to look at is the one that you're in. Cool. And notifications, finally, on that. You can mute certain channels if you want. If you don't want to see the memes channel, that's fine. Mute the memes channel. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Again, this is why I'm kind of forceful on post things in the appropriate channel so that people can mute the channels they don't care about. Please, by all means, do so. You're welcome to. Please don't mute at everyone. I will do my best to not spam at everyone. I'll do it only when there is stuff that I think is relevant. So please don't turn that off. Otherwise, should be good. Yeah, and finally, if there's some content that you want on Discord that's not there, please ask me for it. If you want workshop slides or tutorial slides uploaded to Discord, I'm more than happy to do that. I hate Canvas. I hate having to log in every time I go to Canvas. So, if you also hate whatever it is, if you want stuff on Discord, please let me know so that it is as useful to you as humanly possible. I am very happy to make that happen. I don't know what you want though, so tell me what you want, and I'll make it a reality for you. Okay, we're nearly through our admin. I think this is the final thing I wanted to address. 517, we're doing okay. If you're going to miss class, and that's going to happen over a 12-week period, you're going to get sick or whatever, and you're going to miss a class, or you're going to run late because the track work on the train slowed you down or whatever. It's going to happen. It sucks. It's not good because you're going to miss important content, but that's okay. If it happens, it happens. What you need to do is tell your team. You don't need to tell me unless it's an assignment. I don't necessarily care. There's nothing I can do to help you if you're going to be late. It's your team that matters. And when I walk into a class and I see that not everybody is sitting at a particular table or whatever, I will go up to them and say, do you know where your fourth team member is? And if they say, yep, they've messaged already, they're running 20 minutes late, we're going to catch them up when they get here, da da da. I'm like, great, that person is totally fine. I don't care. If they go, I don't know, haven't heard from them, that's really bad. I care far, far more that your team knows where you are than I know where you are. So make sure they're always the first people that you tell. Cool, 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 cool. All right, before I hit the assignment, any questions from any of that, just so that we can get those questions answered and out of the way, and then we can focus on talking about the assignment and nothing else for the next however long this takes. Diploma kids just not worry about tech trees. Yeah, absolutely. So if you're doing, say, the diploma or a pathway or a whatever, you do whatever you do for your diploma or your pathway or your whatever. It's already predefined. And then you can come in and view the tree if you elect, if when you finish your diploma, you decide to continue on with a particular type of engineering, then it will become relevant to you. And somebody like the students doing a pathway entry or who are getting credit for something or whatever, you're kind of the ones that these are super duper helpful for, because you'll be able to be like, oh, I've done this, I haven't done this, and it relates to this other thing, which is super duper important. So right now, if you're a diploma or a pathway or whatever, no, they don't matter. But next year they might really matter. So maybe just download it in advance and save it somewhere on your computer so you have it, just in case. We did that. Where am I up to? Canvas is alright. It is alright. Canvas is okay. It's just the login process that frustrates me. Do you know who we contact for personalized course plans? Mainly because the tech tree doesn't really suit my program. You contact your program convener. That's their name. So one of the very, very few things that the university's website does well is connect you to your program convener. You go to everybody should know who their program convener is. This is actually helpful for everybody, which is why I'm going to bother explaining it. So your program convener, UON program convener. I don't think I spelled convener right, but it doesn't matter. You go here. Come on, internet. Undergraduate program convener list. You are in the College of Engineering, Science and Environment, and then you just scroll down, or better yet, Control F for whatever degree you're doing. I'm a mechanical, for example. And you can see who, these are all the aero ones. Gabriel is aero. Mechanical. The Associate Professor Chris Wendrich is the program convener for mechanical, and you don't directly email him, you email mecheng-pc if you need help. Why is this helpful? When many of you end up off plan because you get a part-time job or something like that and you don't take 40 units or you fail something or whatever, it happens, and you need some help in this situation, the program convener is the person you talk to. They're an academic who knows your degree inside and out. They know everything about that tech tree and how it all relates, and they can advise you on how best to do it. So you can always just talk to your program convener, but they're not going to want to have 400 conversations with all of you, right? So this tech tree allows you to at least go, yep, I can figure this stuff out for myself, or no, I seriously need some help. cool, that's enough. Triggers that conversation with your program convener, and you're a little bit informed before you go in. So knowing how to find your program convener, super duper useful. They're also super duper useful if you decide to change engineering degrees. If you want to swap from mechanical to civil, talk to the civil program convener. Course program planner sucks. Yep. We're using Canvas for other courses. Yeah, I know. We're using Canvas for my course as well. How do capstone courses work? Don't stress too much about them at this stage, but they're open-ended courses. So they're courses where you'll come in and you'll have the ability to do a project that doesn't have like strict coursework. You must do this. It will be a big picture. Go and do some research for 12 weeks, or go and do an industry project for 12 weeks and work it out from there. They will bring together a whole bunch of skills that you've learned over the next 3 years. So don't stress about them now, stress about working on your next 3 years. But it's a good question. What are they? They're often big picture projects that bring together heaps of different coursework into something that by the time you do that, we'd basically say, yep, that person is basically an engineer, hand them a degree, let them out the door. I think that's a conversation that should probably happen in your next workshop. What's the difference between honors and normal? All engineering degrees at this university have honors. We have what we call embedded honors. There is no normal engineering degree. Well, the normal engineering degree is an honors degree. With other degrees like science and stuff, you can do a 3-year degree and a 1-year honors on the end. That's called end-on honors. We have embedded honors. You have to do it no matter what. Don't worry about it. It comes for free with doing an engineering program. You met your convener during the introduction week. Yeah, during welcome week, we tried to have breakout conversations and most people got to meet their program convener. I hope that that was useful. I was in the mech one and it was really useful. So yeah. What happens if our whole group doesn't work on the competency task, but only part of the group does? Then we have a huge problem with your group, and we probably need to have a conversation with your tutorial leader. So let's have a conversation in your next tutorial. Grab me next time you see me. All right, let's cut it here and move on to talking about the assignment. So your new assignment, assessment 2, is being released now / tomorrow, but we're going to talk about it now. It is a report, and in short, what it's designed to do is get you to summarize the tutorial content over the first 3 to 4 weeks that you've been doing and explain this to a new team member. So let's say somebody was jumping out of whatever current engineering they're in right now. They want to swap to your engineering, and I'm putting them in your team. They haven't been to any of your tutorials at all for the first 4 weeks. You need to write a document that can be handed to them and they can read it and get up to speed on what's been going on in your tutorials and on any of the lecture content that was specifically related to your project, which you can assume they've watched the lectures because they should have watched the lectures. But if there is certain bits of that, like a discipline specific part of a lecture or a particular piece of context that you feel is important to explain, that goes in as well. I say this around like models and assumptions, for example. That's often a very discipline specific thing. So this is the big picture of what you're doing. You're writing a document that summarizes the last 4 weeks and explains it to a new person. What's really important to me here is that you explain it to a new person. It is not a good idea in an assignment like this to sit there and try and use as many big words as you can to impress me in this environment. If you do that and you confuse your audience, your target audience, who is another student, you've done a very bad job of writing. And we're going to talk about how you don't do that. I'm going to teach you how to do that, but just I want to start with your target audience is really important to consider in this environment. I'm going to outline a structure for you in a minute. It's fairly prescriptive. it is not the typical engineering report structure. So, fair warning, anybody who did engineering studies or who goes and Googles right now, what does an engineering report look like? If you try and follow that, you will fail fucking miserably. Don't do it. Do the thing that I'm about to tell you to do, okay? And it wouldn't make any sense to follow the engineering report structure right now because you haven't finished your project. That's a report structure designed for a completed project to be written up. When you write your final report, yeah, it's probably appropriate then, but it's absolutely not appropriate now. I'll show you what I want you to do in a second. There's also some formatting rules I'm going to outline for you as well that you will need to follow, plus some submission rules. There are some things I'm going to require you to do when you submit, like name your file appropriately, ensure that your report is completely anonymous and has no names in it so it cannot be identified, and submit it on time. And there might be a few others, but at least those three. If you fail to do any of those, we will immediately take your report out of marking circulation. It will not go to a marker. It will immediately be given 0. And you're going to see why as this progresses. So there's a couple of rules that are like just super duper strict. Make sure you follow these. They're not hard, and there's logistical reasons why they all exist. So we'll work through that in a second. Over the next 2 live streams, before this thing is due, I am happy to review submissions on stream. So I will, if you would like some feedback on your report, you can submit it to me. And during a stream, I will pull it up in front of everybody and I'll go through and I'll give you feedback. And I'll be like, I don't think this is done very well. I think you should do this instead. I don't think this is done very well. Hey, I found an error here. You should fix this. You should fix this. You should fix this. All the stuff you would normally get after you submit it when you can't make any changes. So the feedback is being useless to you. So I give it as pre-feedback. Feed forward, however you want to call it. So you'll have the opportunity to get this, and we'll dedicate some time to every live stream from now on, helping you with your assignments using examples. You don't have to do this. If you don't want your assignment to go up on stream, don't send it to me. That's fine, but this is your best way of getting feedback. In fact, it's your only way of getting feedback from a human being before it gets submitted. There's a trick that we're going to see in a minute. Now, the week 4 and 5 lectures, so the ones that will get released tomorrow, are both on report writing. Okay, so they're the 2 most content dense. Well, okay, the week 5 lecture is the most content dense lecture of the entire course by a mile. The week 4 is semi-dense. You have 2 weeks, is the point here, to watch both of these. I will release both of them before Sunday. So you're going to get, normally you're getting 1 lecture a week. This week you're getting 2 lectures to watch over the next 2 weeks, but you should watch them both as soon as you can. So then you've got all of the information, then you can write your report. It's going to be like 3.5 hours of content, which is a lot, and you should watch it all, but you shouldn't necessarily watch it all in one sitting because it'll melt your brain. Cool. There's also a Word 101 video. So, in addition to these 2 lecture videos, there's another video that I made quite a few years ago now, which was just me opening up Microsoft Word and going through and going, by the way, this is how you change heading styles. This is how you set margins. This is how you change this. It's just, here's what a bunch of buttons in Word do. And I never thought it was that good because it's not at the quality of like my lecture videos. It's not that well planned out. It's not whatever. And every single year, most people say, Dylan, that's the most helpful thing you taught us in the entire year. Sorry, there is a siren going past my window. I don't know if you can hear it, but hopefully it goes away in a second. Okay. So that exists as well. So if it's something like, I don't know how to set captions correctly in Word, that's fine. That will be somewhere in the Word 101 video. I will release these as your week 4 lecture and your week 5 lecture on Discord and in Canvas, but I will also have a single playlist which has the week 4 lecture, the week 5 lecture, the Word 101 video in it, and a bunch of other little videos that I have made over the years where people have asked me questions. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm just going to make you a little video for that. So it's a big playlist, which means you can just go to the top of that playlist, hit start, and just work your way through it, okay? So this is all coming. We're about to release the documents. I'm just going to check chat really quickly, and then I'll pull the document up and we can have a look. Is this a group assignment or individual? It is individual. These will always be individual for me. So the way that this works, and this is a really, really good, important question. The way this works in real industry is a whole team will do a project, and then one person generally will write it up on behalf of the team. That's what you're doing. It happens that in this case, 3 other people are also doing that, but you ignore the fact that those 3 other people exist. You report on the entire team's project, and you will get marked on your ability to report on the team's project, as will everybody else. Which means if you've got one terrible team member who never ever shows up for anything or does anything, they're going to get smashed in this report because they're not going to have any idea what to write about. But that won't affect your mark. You'll be totally fine. So it helps take away some of that bias from having unbalanced teams. Also, group assignments, group reports suck. They're horrible things to write and read. Yes, there is a template. Yes, we'll talk about that. The engineering method is not the template. I'll give it to you in a second. It's coming. Stress less. It's not me who's wanted. They were ambulances, not police. Cool. All right. Let's do this thing. Yeah, you guys, your questions are all about to be answered, so we are fine. Why? Why is this like this? You're kidding. Hello, Word. How have you crashed on me? Okay, so this is your assignment doc, everybody. All right, let's just close it and open it again. There we go. All right. I just want to make sure that if I do this, I'm trying to make it big enough that you can see it. How about I do this? I don't need to be as big for this. So let's do that and let's do that. All right. So, ENGG1500 Assessment 2 is an individual assessment task. We've already spoken about that. It is officially due Friday of week 5. However, you may or may not know this, Friday of week 5 happens to be a public holiday. Oh no, I can't make it due on a public holiday. Whatever is Dylan to do? Turns out that Friday is a public holiday, then Saturday is a Saturday, Sunday. This is Easter. Monday is a public holiday. And you may not know this, but the university officially takes the Tuesday after Easter off as a concession day as well. Which means if I go home at 5 o'clock on, wait, that shouldn't say Monday, that should say Friday. If I go home on Friday, I haven't seen these yet because officially I'm not allowed to be at work, which means I can't see them until Monday morning. Which means as long as you submit by the 2nd of April at midnight, well, just before midnight, 1 minute before midnight, I will consider that to be on time. So there you go. You all just got a 4-day extension. Is that how that works? Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. A 5-day extension. Happy? I can't see chat anymore, by the way. I should probably be able to see chat. Hold on. Let me be able to see chat. Yeah, word without the words. I can see it Wednesday. Yeah, so I will actually process. This data will be processed. Your submissions will get processed at 1 second past midnight on Wednesday. Okay? And they will. At 1 second past midnight on Wednesday is when they will get processed, which means if you are 1 minute and 1 second late, if you hand this in 1 second after midnight, you will get 0 because they will get processed on the spot. Okay? So that's super duper important. That is it's completely automated. So it will happen exactly then. Obviously, I could automate it and I could make it happen on the public holiday, but this is an easy way for me to just buy you 4 extra days for free. So that's what I'm doing. So hand it in by this date. Do not ask me for an extension for any reason because officially the due date is supposed to be here. It's worth 10%. It's probably more than 10% worth of work. This is going to be a fair bit of work for 10%. There's a reason for that. The first time you write a report is pretty difficult. And this report used to be worth 15%. And the feedback from students was, I didn't do very well. I kind of tanked it. It was the first time I'd ever written. I didn't really know what I was supposed to be doing. I didn't do a great job. And I failed. And I lost 15% of the entire course's marks. So it's a lot of work for 10%. That's true. I don't deny that, but it is kind of safer for you in that if you tank it, it doesn't hurt you that much. If you do a good job, you'll be able to, by design, recycle a whole bunch of this content and put it straight in your second report. So if you invest the time and effort now, when you're not that busy, come your second report, you'll just be able to be like, oh, I've already done this. Copy, paste. It'll probably be copy, make a few changes because you're better at writing now, paste. That's very, very intentional. So view this as an investment. Your situation, your engineering firm is recruiting a new team member, so your team is getting a new team member. You're getting one from a different discipline. We've spoken about this already. They're joining in week 6, so that's why it's due when it's due. And they're not going to look through all of the information that's been posted on Canvas. They're not going to have time to do that. They're just going to have time to read your document. This is a really common thing in reality, in industry, is a person won't review all of the documentation. They'll get given a summary, and you're creating that summary. So you need to write the document that brings the new team member up to speed and makes them a useful member of your team. Oh, I understand your confusion. Sorry, yeah, hold on. Yeah, you're good. I probably should have just taken the days out. Maybe this is less confusing if I do this. Is this less confusing now? So it just has dates in it? The dates are correct. Let me make sure the dates are correct, just in case I've done something really stupid. So it was supposed to be due here. But that's a public holiday, that's a day off, that's a day off, that's a public holiday, that's a public holiday. Okay, the dates are correct. Yeah, good call, good catch, everybody. Can we receive feedback prior to submission? Yep, we just spoke about that fact, that you can submit them to me and I will go through them in the live streams. Sweet. Cool. Thanks for calling that out, guys. This is why I'm soft releasing today so that I can officially release tomorrow so I can fix any of these little typos. Yeah, basically submit it sometime Tuesday during week 6. Yeah, you can. You can submit it here if you want. There's absolutely no reason you can't submit it before, if you're going away for Easter or whatever. Absolutely, submit it then. That's its initial due date is, yeah, so the 28th is the Thursday. This is when it was meant to be due. It was meant to be due at midnight this Thursday, right? And then I wouldn't check it on the Friday though. So it wouldn't process at 1 a.m. at 1 minute past midnight on Friday. It won't process then because that's a public holiday. So you get all of these days back for free. Is it only one submission or unlimited like the quiz? It's sort of unlimited. So the way that this will work is you will make a submission to the portal and it will sit there. And you are welcome to take that down and put a new one back in its place as many times as you like until the due date hits. And whatever is in the portal when the due date hits is what will get grabbed and taken. Okay? So, yeah, absolutely throw a draft up and leave a draft sit in there for a couple of days whilst you work on an updated version of the draft and just constantly replace that draft. That is 100% the correct way to do this. Everyone should do exactly that. Good question. All right. Cool. I'm gonna get through this and then I'm gonna come back to chat questions. So your task is to create a document detailing the work you've done so far. We've spoken about this. No structure is given. That's a typo. A structure is given and formatting rules. It's your responsibility to determine the most appropriate information to present. The standard engineering report is not appropriate. We've discussed that. And you get a table and some other stuff. So here we go. I'm just going to make sure this fits on one page. It does. Yep, we can see that. So here is outlining your structure. You'll need the ENGG1500 title page. I will supply this. I'm going to show you that in a minute. Actually, I'm going to show you that right now. This is the ENGG1500 title page. You will feel this is available. It will be made available at the same time. And you need to fill this out and you need to make it page 1 of your report. So when you do that, you can just fill it out, control copy, control A, control C, move to your report, control V. Okay? So you need to have this title page and no other title page for any reason. You do not need the university cover sheet. It is not required in this case. You just need the ENGG1500 title page. Okay? It should only be one page, so it's fine. Then you need a big picture overview of the problem. So a general overview to your problem. What are you doing? It's basically a summary of your project brief, or what you now understand your project brief to be, because there'll be the brief and then all of the other like conversations and chats that you've had leading up to that point, giving you the big picture overview. Then a project scope. So we talked about scoping in the week 3 lecture, right? And we're going to talk about scoping a little bit more later. So you'll need a scope, you need a scope, and you need a description of your client, target market, or customer as appropriate. Depending on what project you're doing, we use slightly different language here. And sometimes a project has a different client to target market. So if I pick one at random, the DCEL project, for example, has a client, which is a non-government organization, wanting to give a particular product to a customer who is a Fijian village. So one's the NGO and one's the Fijian village. So depends on your project a little bit, the terminology here. These two things combined make up one page, okay? The reason that they're like this is in some projects, it's going to make heaps of sense for these to be two separate sections. And in other projects, it's going to make heaps of sense to combine all of this together. So however it works for you and your project, you put in a scope and you put in a description of your target market and your client and your whatever, okay, as appropriate. So you need that. That could have arguably been made one section, but it could be two as well. Combined, one page. Summary and explanation of relevant content on which your solution will be based. It's the first 3 weeks of your tutorial content, okay? That's what I want you to sum up there. And discussion of the assumptions and models made used in your field. So this is a bit of the week 2 lecture, a bit of the first 3 weeks as appropriate. It may be appropriate to go through and go, here's what we learned in week 1, here's what we learned in week 2, here's what we learned in week 3. But I don't want to say it's unlikely that that's the best way to do it, but often that is not the best way to do it. Often it might be better to go, here's a little bit from all of the weeks and then let's do it a little bit deeper. Or if you're doing like a programming project, it might be here's all the software and here's all the hardware. So there's various ways of breaking this up. You are going to want to put quite a lot of brain cells into how you structure these 5 pages, okay? Because following the tutorial documentation may be the right way to go, and it absolutely may not. You've only got 5 pages to cover a lot of content, so you're gonna have to pick and choose the important stuff, and you're gonna have to think about what the correct order to present this is to somebody who is new. Maybe it's the same as your tutes, maybe it's not. You're gonna talk about the learnings from your competency. So what did you do and what did you learn? A brief description of what the task was, how it went well, how it didn't go well, and this should absolutely contain pictures and images. You'll then need a weighted performance criteria. So that was the week 3 lecture. We talked about that for the target market that you have identified. We're going to talk a little bit about this later in the live stream to help you. Yep, I think that's fine. And then you will need some references. You can choose whether you want to use APA or IEEE referencing style. You have to use one of those two, but you can choose, you can pick your favorite. I don't really care. It's not included in your page count. You are allowed to reference your tutorial slides and labs or project brief as needed. I get this question every year. Are we allowed to reference our labs? Yes, you are. Or your tutorial slides or whatever. Yes, you are. So that's the structure. Okay. Now we're going to hit the formatting. This is it, by the way. We're finished by the time we get to the end of this. So I'm going to go through this as well, and then I'm going to go back to chat. Formatting and additional requirements. You must use Times New Roman font at all times throughout. I never, ever, ever want to see any other font other than Times New Roman for any reason. That is it. Each section in Table 1 to begin on a new page. So you do your big picture overview, and it takes 3/4 of a page. Say that's how long it takes you, and you're happy with that. You don't start the project scope on the bottom of your first page. You make a new page, and then you do it in the new page. Okay. You can leave these two together on one page. That's fine if you want, or you can split them over 2 half pages. I don't mind either way. But, you know, when you finished this off and you're coming into your competency, start a new page. Page breaks will be your friend. Okay? Oh, I know some people don't like these, so I'll turn them off. This outlines how your headings are to be formatted. This outlines that all of your text must be black at all times. If you put a figure caption in and it makes it that crappy blue color, you need to go and make sure all your text is black at all times. You need to have double space body text. If you don't know what double space text is, if you select your text and you go to paragraph, and you change line spacing to double, you hit OK, it will do this to it. This is double space text. This is what you are required to use. Take note, this takes up a lot of space. You're not going to actually have that many words in a single page of double space text. It means using pictures is really important. Pictures are very helpful. And things like putting stuff in a table can be very helpful as well. So consider using figures to help you, and acknowledge that it's not going to be very many words until you've filled all these page limits up, okay? So you'll need to choose some of your words carefully. In this document, I'm going to leave this like this. We can come back to it. Oh, Josh, you're correct. Well, there is no code blocks, right? There is no reason anyone will be typing code. Okay. That's fair. You can have that, Josh. All right. Yes, okay, and here's the other exception. Headings, captions, dot points, references, figures, table text can all have single or multiple spacing. So what I mean by multiple spacing, I should address that. Line spacing, multiple at 1.08. That is the current default for Word. So that's all that means. You can leave your tables alone, your dot points alone, your references alone. You don't have to double space them. Set your margins to narrow. It's very easy to do. You go up to layout, margins, and you set them to narrow. They'll be normal by default. I've already set these ones to narrow, but you do that and you leave your paper size as A4. Do not put columns in or any of that kind of crap. Just leave it alone. All figures and tables have full sentence captions correctly inserted as a caption with an in-text cross-reference. So this is a table caption, and you put it in by right-clicking and inserting a caption. And then it makes a real caption. And you can also put in a true cross-reference as well. This is explained in the Word 101 video. If you don't know how to do that, that's fine. Go and watch the Word 101 video. The whole purpose of this is to teach you that skill that you may not have so far. Cool. You must submit this by the due date. We've spoken about this. The assignments will be processed 1 second after 12 o'clock. Meaning, if it's not in, it's not in, and you get 0. No extensions of time. Put a draft in there. If you have something go wrong and your final draft gets marked, that's fine. We can modify that mark really easily. We can be like, yep, I can see that that's a final draft. I can see you would have done more work on it. Not a problem. We can modify your 6.5 to be a 7.2. That's super duper easy. But if it's not in, you get 0. So make sure, as we've already spoken about, you put your drafts in the submission portal early. You must be anonymous at all times. So you never refer to yourself or anyone else by name. Never put your name in the heading or the caption or the title or anything like that. These must be strictly anonymous at all times. Never mention the name of your tutor. Never mention the name of a team member for any reason. And submit it to Canvas and name it appropriately. It must be a docx document. I don't want any PDFs or anything else. It has to be a docx document, and it has to be named appropriately. We are going to sort 619 of these things, and if you don't get sorted because you didn't name it correctly or because you uploaded the wrong type of document, you will get 0. Just get it right. Cool. You should include all week completed up until the 17th, which is this Sunday. So the first 3 weeks of content is what you need to include, and your practical competency if it was completed after this time. So if you completed your competency in week 3, that's it. You're done. Most of you, the overwhelming majority of you, will complete your competency in week 4. That's fine. You just include your competency as well as the content from the first 3 weeks. But if you get a presentation or a lab or something like that in week 4, you don't need to include it. It's fine. We're capping it to the first 3 weeks of content plus the competency whenever you happen to finish that. And we've already spoken about this as an individual task, not a team task. We've spoken about the fact that it's your job to bring the entirety of your team up to speed. Cool beans. All right, I'm going to have a look at some chat. If you have any questions, please ask them now, and I will do my best to help. Is the title page like the cover sheet? Kinda, yeah. So there is a thing at university called the university cover sheet, and you are required to submit one of those anytime you do a hard copy submission of a report or something like that. This isn't going to be a hard copy. It's just going to be a soft copy submission. You don't technically need it, and I'm saying I don't need to see it. Everything Dylan wants is going to be in the title page, and there's actually some stuff on the cover page. I know the terminology is really suckily close together here. The ENGG1500 title page I want. The cover page I definitely do not want. Do not include it because it has information like your name on it, which is unacceptable. I can't have that. Have we been assigned team member numbers? No, you haven't. So you can do that. This is a good question. Somewhere up here, where am I talking about being anonymous? You may refer to team members. So you could refer to team member 1, team member 2, team member 3, instead of referring to Dylan, Josh, and James or whatever. For our draft, which can be reviewed in the live stream, do you want these submitted Canvas or email, and will you review every submission or just a few? So I will want them via email, and I will review as many as I can in the time that I have. It will depend on how many people submit. It almost certainly won't be all of them. If 600 people submit, I'm not getting through them all. Generally, I can get through about 3, but it depends on what I'm looking for and stuff like that. There's a little bit more scoping in this one, so I might be able to get through a few more than that. Can you use pictures from the tutorial slides? Yes, you can. You absolutely can, but you will need to reference them and be aware that they're not necessarily the best pictures for you to use because those tutorial slides weren't subject to the constraints of you've only got 10 pages to fit all this in. I addressed that. Thank you, Josh. Yeah, your problem is not going to be can you fill 10 pages. It's going to be how do I fit all this in 10 pages? And that's a real skill. And it's a difficult one, and it will take you time to learn. And this is going to be your first opportunity to start learning. AI is not allowed. If this was something that you could throw at an AI and get an output from it, I would have already done that. Is using AI appropriate for feeding it to it and saying, hey, can you some can you proofread this for me? That's fine. I have no problems with you asking an AI to proofread it for you. That's fine. I would be extremely hesitant in asking it to summarize anything for you because the way in which it is trained is not particularly good at doing that in this context. There are some contexts where it's really powerful for that, but others where it is not. Can you use AI to generate the content? Absolutely not. Can you use AI as a proofreader? Absolutely yes, you may do that. So much so that in fact, when you submit to the portal, it is going to get automatically read by an AI. So the portal isn't available yet. I'm going to make it available soon. I'm just making sure I've got everything right first. When you submit to the, actually, I'm going to see if I can show you. I'm going to see if I can carefully show you how this is going to work. Take me to assignments. So in here, you're going to come to this portal and you're going to submit. So 0 out of 116 people have submitted, obviously, that's fine. There's some information, there's a link to the brief, all of that type of stuff. You submit and then automated feedback. When you submit, an AI will read through your document and provide you feedback on all of these things. So I've gone through and curated which of the things I want you to get feedback and which things I don't want you to get feedback, and it will automatically give you all of this AI generated feedback for you. So can you use an AI to get feedback? You will be forced to use an AI to get feedback. And use that to your advantage. Chuck up a draft in there, let it, read its feedback. I can't guarantee its feedback is good. Its feedback might be trash. So you will have to use your judgment after having watched the 2 lectures to go, is this good feedback or is this bad feedback? So you will still need to use your academic judgment there, but you will absolutely have access to the AI for that. Do not use AI for content generation. How do you give marks if there's no name on it? Student number. The same way we don't use your name for anything anyway, ever. Your name is useless to me most of the time. Student ID. Oh, yeah, already answered. Nice, Clyde. Haven't done anything other than scientific reports for years. Are we allowed to use personal language? No, personal language should be avoided at all times in reports. It's a little bit It's a little bit hard in this one, but it's a good one to practice on. You should avoid personal language. No names to be included, but we include our student number on the cover page. Yes, you are correct. Sorry if it's already said, but can we find this document outlining the structure and rules? Yeah, so you will be able to find it. I'll show you. Modules, assessments, assessment 2 brief. I'll put it in Discord as well, which is a much more helpful place because when it goes into Discord and I duplicate this channel and I call you A2 questions, there is now, so you should be able to see it on Canvas now. There is a Discord channel for assessment 2 questions. Let's bring it up near the top. And I will also put a link to it in there, which I might do after I finish this, just so that I don't put a link to an outdated version of the document. Would you say the best way to find information about the assignment if we were confused later on? Just rewatch this half an hour of the stream? Yeah, or come to the follow-up streams where we'll be talking about it every time as well. Does the competency test happen first thing in Lab 4? Depends on the project. What project are you doing? How do you mark the assessment if it does not have our name on it? Using the student number, we've discussed that. Competency task and then assessment 2. I hope that's an answer to a question. Word 101 isn't published yet, so this will get published this weekend. All of this is going to happen over the weekend. I'm hoping to do it all tomorrow, but I'm pretty fucking exhausted, so probably Saturday morning is a more realistic plan, but I'm going to do my absolute best to get you all of this out by tomorrow night, if at all humanly possible, and if it not, trust me, it wasn't for lack of effort. It'll be out as soon as I can get it out for you, okay? Is this video going to be uploaded to assignment video playlists? Yeah, so that's a question I'm unsure about. I don't know if I try and snip this out or not. I'll put something in the assignment playlist saying it's been discussed at length in the live stream. What type of pictures are we looking for in our assignment? Whatever helps you summarize efficiently. Put a lot of brain cells into what are the most useful pictures to use. Pictures say 1,000 words, and this is all spoken about in the week 4 and 5 lectures, so go and watch them. But very informative pictures are the ones to put in. When are we writing about our project the whole report is based on, or is this about the end of semester project or the competency task? It's about your project. It's not about the competency task. The only bit that's about the competency task is this bit. It's about your project as a whole. This is learnings from your competency as related to your whole big picture project. If you did something in the competency and it worked well or didn't work well, great. Why does that matter? How is that a learning? Well, it's only a learning if it's something that you will be able to apply in your final project. So we learned to never, ever, ever do this again, and thus for our project, we will be better at blah, blah, blah. So all about the final project. Where are we downloading Word? From the uni's website. You can get Word for free. Is it fine to make your own diagrams? Absolutely. Making your own diagrams is a fantastic thing to do and is discussed in the lectures. When are the tutorial drafts due? I don't understand that question. Sorry, can you help ask that again? Is this lecture only about the assessment? No, we're going to do some content recap in a minute. I'm trying to get to the bottom of these questions, and then we're going to do some actual talking about some content. Are we citing sources? Yes, you are citing sources. Minimum of 5 references, APA or IEEE cited. You missed the week 2 tutorial. Should you be panicking? Panicking, no. But, yeah, you've got some catching up to do. Missing the early weeks is really, really bad. But that's okay. That's okay. Don't panic. Just work hard to catch up. Does it have to be Word? Yes, it has to be Word. If you format it in the other things, it will not translate the formatting correctly, and you will get massacred in the marking. Learn to use Word. It's a required skill as an engineer. It's not my favorite. I really like Google Docs, but that doesn't matter. As an engineer, you must learn how to use the appropriate tools. And we are a Microsoft university, so you have to learn to use Word. How should we go about referencing workshop slides? I'll make some content specifically around that. Don't stress. If it's not already in the writing help, ask me when writing help comes out, and I'll make a video specifically addressing that. It's a very good question. It deserves its own video. So have you taught how to write a report in week 4 and 5 lectures? Yeah. So week 4 and 5 lectures. Why we write and how we write. You should be good after watching them. What dimension should we keep the pictures to? Good question. That'll mess around a little bit how much space you have, but try to at least standardize the pictures. And the best thing you can possibly do is print it out and look at it. Looking at it on a screen is a really bad idea. Physically print it and look at it, and you'll immediately be like, oh, that's way too big, or that's so small I can't read it. Do we use the referencing system in Word? You're more than welcome to use the referencing system in Word or your own, like Mendeley or EndNote or something, or you can use anything you want. So there's 5 pages about summarizing the specific degree content. Those 5 pages are about summarize an explanation of relevant content on which your solution will be based. The first 3 weeks of tutorial content. Discussions and assumptions made models in your field. This will be both tutorial content and maybe a bit of lecture content. Where can we find information about our project and the competency content? in the last 3 tutorials that you've gone to, you should have gotten information there. So it's all the in-class stuff. It's all the stuff you've been doing in class every week. This isn't new. This is the work you've been doing over the last 3 weeks. When do we have to submit drafts by if you want them to be reviewed in the live stream? Wednesday afternoon, if possible, but generally on Thursday morning, I will spend a bit of time curating the drafts and finding a couple that I plan to read through. So if you can get them to me before 8 a.m. Thursday morning, you'll at least go in the potential list. Will some of this be discussed in the tute? No. That's a really good question. No, this will never be discussed in the tute. Your tutors have been instructed to never answer any of your questions about this because it's not tutor specific. So we don't want the tutors telling you something because in one particular project that might be the case, but not in another project. So this will always be me. This will never get discussed in the tutes. It will always get discussed with me in the live streams. That's why I'm going to dedicate so much time to them. Text in the image is affected by the rules of text in the document. Yeah, if ever possible. Sometimes when you get an image from elsewhere, you can't do anything about it, but that image should at least always have legible text in it. It can't be so small that you can't read it. The Discord link isn't working. It says invalid invite. Okay, if you're trying to join the Discord now, we probably need a much, much, much bigger conversation. Yeah, that Discord link possibly is out. I can get another invite, but that's somewhat worrying. Give me a second, everybody. I'll fix this. Just refresh the stream. There's a new link in there now. If you need to ask questions, is Discord or email better? Public post in Discord channels is the way to get your questions answered, okay? Emails and DMs in Discord are the bottom of my list, and I'm 4 or 5 days behind. Ask them in general or ask them in project channels. If at all humanly possible, those ones I'll absolutely get to. Is the content for the day's live stream going to be long? It's not supposed to be, but I'm getting a lot more questions than I expected. I'm going to cut it here because overwhelmingly what I've been answering is stuff that's in the week 4 and 5 lectures that you guys actually shouldn't be wasting brain cells on right now. They're valid questions. They're not bad questions to be asking, but there's a really good answer to every single one of these questions, and it's in the week 4 and 5 lectures. Let's watch them when they're out, hopefully tomorrow. For now, let's move on. So, changing gears, give me... Okay, let's change gears. Let's do some thinking about our projects. Park the report questions, watch the lectures, let's get into this. Next week, you're going to finish up doing most of the tutorial brain dump information, and you're going to start in week 5 for most of you, working on your projects quite independently. We're going to start that by doing a design thinking exercise, a constructive brainstorming exercise. So we're going to see little bits and pieces of that in the week 3 lecture. You're going to see some of it now, but be aware in week 5 is when you're going to start working on your projects with this. But for now, let's have a look at our engineering method. And I want to do this as a worked example. So you got a lecture from me talking about the engineering method, right? I assume you've all watched it. We did the transporting people examples to go through the engineering method. It's very uninteractive though. So let's go through an engineering method together where you guys get to throw stuff at the screen and I'm going to try and help work you through a real world problem. So the problem that we're going to work through here is, let's assume that I'm inviting some friends over to celebrate, I don't know, the end of getting through this very long live stream on a very hot day. And they come over with a bottle of wine. So I do what everybody does when I get handed a bottle of wine with my friends, and I go to the second drawer, the second cutlery drawer, the one under the real cutlery drawer, and I start looking for a corkscrew. And I can't find one. Oh no, whatever shall we do? I have a bottle of wine, a corked bottle of wine, and I have no corkscrew. I know, let us apply the engineering method. That's what we're going to do today, all right? So we're going to move through this quickly. That's the point. It's going to be a bit of fun. It's going to be high paced, but at the end of it, I'm going to help you do some stuff that's going to help you with your assignments and your projects, all right? So if you remember the the engineering process, the very first step is problem identification. What's the problem? What do you think the problem we're trying to solve is? Because I'm going to give you a hint, it's not find a corkscrew. That's the first thing that everybody thinks. It's the first thing that I thought. I'm going to find a corkscrew. That hasn't worked. So, what's the real problem? How do you want to phrase the problem we're trying to solve? So, open the wine bottle. We need a tool to open the wine bottle. Go further back. Go further back. Get the cork out of the bottle. Go further back. Not looking in the right location. Go further back. You can't get drunk is better. It's not quite right. Get wine into a glass is pretty close. Drink wine, pretty good. This is better. This is better. We don't want to, when we do our problem definition, is say find a corkscrew or get a tool, because we may not necessarily need a tool to solve this problem. And if we phrase it incorrectly, then we can get stuck. So we want to acknowledge, what are we trying to do? Opening the bottle could be good, but there we go. Buy beers. That's not a problem definition. It's a solution, but it's a solution that only exists that you may consider adequate. I don't know if you personally would consider, well, okay, we don't have a corkscrew. Hey, Dylan's got beer in the fridge. Is that a totally valid solution to the problem? Because if yes, then you need to have taken an extra step back and said, okay, we want to get drunk, as somebody has already said. If that's your problem definition, then your solution space becomes much wider than you think it is. So getting this right is super duper important. And most people get it wrong when they start. That's fine. It's just your job to be like, hold on, am I solving the correct problem? Do I have the biggest solution space? So I would probably say, get access to the wine. And I'm going to, for now, say that I want to get access to the wine because my friends have brought it over and it's important for the social aspect to get access to the wine. You may not agree with that, and that's fine. Yeah, you absolutely could just go and get the beers. But for now, let's do that. We need to be able to drink the wine that is in the bottle. That's how I'm going to define this. Cool. We've done this. Now, you are not your client. All right. So this is really important. This isn't something that was in the lecture, but it's something that I wanted to bring up here. You may not like wine, and that's fine. Dylan actually really doesn't like wine. I hate wine. I've never had a desire to drink wine basically in my life. Doesn't matter. My friends are here. They have the bottle of wine. I would like to get the bottle open for them. You are not your client. You don't have to like wine to solve the problem. And in the same way, you as an engineer don't necessarily have to like the outcome of the thing that you're doing. It doesn't necessarily have to be something you care about in order to be a good engineer. And you can even get more in trouble if it is something that you really care about, because you get a whole bunch of personal bias in here. Remember, in this case, you're not opening the wine for yourself, you're opening it for your guests. What do your guests care about? Being able to empathize with them is super duper important, okay? This is really important to doing both good problem definition and selecting our solution space. So this is going to come back to help us later. Scope the problem. I'm seeing in the chat, I am trying to keep an eye on the chat. And a lot of you are starting to post solutions, what you think are solutions, and that's okay, but you're jumping steps. Let's try and keep them roughly in order. And it's fine to jump steps. I don't have a problem with that. It actually helps us sometimes, but let's scope our problem. If we remember from the lecture, scoping is about putting numbers to things. So bound this solution space. What is acceptable? What is not acceptable? What we want to understand is how big is our problem. That's the purpose of a scope, is so we understand how big our problem is. Am I opening bottles of wine at a day on the green or a wedding where I have to open hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of bottles of wine? Or am I opening one bottle of wine? Or did my friends come over with an entire case of wine? I need to understand that, okay? How much? How much could be a few different things. Much meaning, well, okay, yeah, okay, how much? How much time do I have? How much money do I have? Why could this be really important? Because if it's a $20 bottle of wine, the solution space might look very, very different to if it's a $200 bottle of wine. Some of the solutions you guys have been chucking up might work really well on a $20 or a $2 bottle of wine, but they might not be very good solutions in the space of a $200 bottle of wine, where our solution might now be able to be more expensive. How long? How long do I have to do this? Is this something that I'm at a day on the green or whatever, and I've got to get a bottle of wine open every 12 seconds, or the line is a mile long or whatever? How much time do I have to work here? And any other things. So trying to get a scope together is really helpful so we can understand our problem. Get everybody on the same page. Am I solving this as a one-off, or am I solving this for a more permanent solution? It's not too complicated here. So basically, do I have 20 minutes and enough money to go and buy a corkscrew? 100%. This is perfect. This is why we want to bound this problem. The nearest place that probably sells a corkscrew to me is 700 meters away. So it wouldn't even take me 20 minutes. And how much does a corkscrew cost to go and buy? I don't know, $10, something like that. Is that within scope? Is that okay for me? Is that not okay for me? If you're miles out in the bush or something like that, I don't know, wherever where you can't go and buy a corkscrew, maybe this changes, right? So understanding how we bound our solution space, what is possible, what is not possible. I'm not saying that's a good idea or a bad idea. I'm just saying it's a possibility or it's not a possibility at this stage. So we're trying to put a bound on our box. It's the nearest shopping center, not the nearest corkscrew. I just assume they sell it, but yeah. Okay. Sweet. Research. Now, this is sometimes a huge part of our problems, and sometimes it's a very small part of our engineering process. Right now, for the last 3 weeks in your projects, this is what you've been doing. You've been doing the research stage. You've been going to your tutes every week, and you've been learning things so that you can better solve your problem. Sometimes we spend years in this phase. Sometimes we spend minutes in this phase. It is the most variable of all of the phases. A lot of the time when you see the engineering process presented, they completely admit this. They assume you already know everything there is to know about the problem, which I think is really dumb. So often you'll spend a fair bit of time in this research step. In here, it's not particularly complicated. Wine is corked because exposure to air ruins wine. If you leave wine exposed to air, and most alcohols are like this, what actually happens with most wines is a bacteria gets in there and grows, and it creates acetic acid or vinegar. And you don't want that. That's bad. So exposure to air ruins wine. So what they do is they take the bottle of wine, they put a cork in it, which is impermeable to air, and stops air getting in and out and ruining the wine. Why do they use cork? Cork has what's called a Poisson's ratio of essentially 0 under small deformations. Poisson's ratio is the amount as you compress something, it expands outwards, or you stretch something, it squishes inwards. Cork's really good for this because as you force it into the top of the neck of the bottle, you don't want it to expand outwards because it will crack the glass bottle. So that's why cork's so good. It also means you could pull it out from the top, and that would be fine. You can actually also push it out from the bottom. And if you push it out from the bottom, it's not going to squeeze the cork and cause it to crack the bottle or get stuck. So that's why we have historically for thousands of years used cork in this environment. It's a really wonderful material. So that's where we're up to. We are at the point where We understand our problem. Our friends have brought over a bottle of wine, and we want to get access to that wine for them. We know it's one bottle, maybe two, one, two bottles. We've got a scope of we want a solution in, say, 20 minutes or less. So we've got a rough scope. It's probably not fully defined yet, but we've got a bit of a scope. Let's have it. Unleash on me. What do you want to do? How do you want to get into this thing? This is our brainstorming session. This is the thing I'm going to teach you guys to do better later. But for now, have at it. How do you want to get to the wine? This will be fun. All right. How quickly can I mean, I'm not going to keep up with this, but... So, saber it. I know what you're talking about there by Daniel. Heat neck. I know what you're talking about, Ben. Burn cork. Okay. Screw from garage. Screw and hammer. Yep. Don't know how an angle grinder is supposed to work. Sounds like a terrible idea. Glass removal. So you want a break bottle, I think is what you're going for there. Obtain corkscrew. You should never miss this. Just go and get a corkscrew. Yep, go and buy a bottle opener. Very good, very good. Shake bottle. Bottle until cork comes out. Cork solvent. Okay. Centrifuge the cork out. Use teeth. I don't know how you get hold of the cork to start with your teeth. Push cork out. Push cork in. Very good. Push the cork in. Now you're thinking with portals. Very good. Drill hole in cork. Very good. That's better. That's what we want to see. Get another bottle of wine. Yes. Now, we did kind of scope this out. And we said we did want to open the bottle that our friends brought. And there was a reason for that. But it still is potentially a very, very valid option. Hey, ask friend to get a corkscrew. How many of you have a bottle opener on your keys? Because I imagine it's a ton of you. Cool, go to the shops. Complain to your friends they assumed you had a corkscrew. Get better friends. Yes, sure. Okay, cool. We got a bunch of them. That's the point. We got heaps and heaps and heaps of options. Good. And this isn't necessarily the hard part, right? Getting a bunch of options, most people can do really quite quickly, and we've done it, and it's good. And we've got a diverse set of options here. Now, remember, whenever you do this, there is a tendency for these brainstorming sessions to descend into chaos really quickly, and that's fine. The creative thinking is chaotic thinking sometimes, and that can be helpful. But remember from the lecture, any idiot can yell out trebuchet. That's not being a good engineer. Being able to think flexibly is absolutely being a good engineer. But where an engineer becomes worth it, where this whole design thinking process becomes of value, is when you can then go, I can turn that batshit crazy idea into something practically awesome. And we're going to do that in week 5. So don't stress. It's coming. But remember, getting to trebuchet isn't the good bit. It's turning it into a kick-ass idea. That's what you get paid for, okay? The brainstorming session that ends at trebuchet is a complete and utter waste of everybody's fucking time. The one that gets from trebuchet, that one more step to something practical, is groundbreakingly good. We're going to do more of this in week 5. Don't stress. For now, we have a bunch of solutions. One of the things we can do at this point is look at our solutions and see whether we can lump some of them together and go, hey, we had a whole bunch of things here that looked at pulling this thing out from the top, like going getting the screw from the garage and putting it in would have pulled it out from the top. No one gave a solution to shear it out from the sides, though, which you can do. You can slip something really thin, like a thin piece of sheet metal, down the sides and pull the entire cork out. It is an option that we completely missed. That's fine. We got some others. Push it out from the bottom. We did get this in more than one way. Somebody wanted to centrifuge it out. Somebody wanted to shake it and try and get the cap out. And somebody wanted to heat the neck of the bottle and push the cap out as well. There's another option here. It's stick a needle in, like a bike pump needle in, and pump it up and push it out that way. We didn't get that one. We could have if we'd sat there and went, hey, are there any other ways that we could get it out of the top? We had some ways of removing the cork. Somebody wanted to dissolve it. Somebody wanted to burn it. Are there safer ways of doing that? Could we just have chipped it out with like a fork or a spoon or something? Maybe we could have. Maybe that should have been on the list. Maybe there were better options. And then we had a few options of breaking the bottle. The very first thing that was put up was saber it. It was snap the neck of the bottle off. Absolutely a possible solution. So sometimes when we do this, we'll get all of the crazy crap out, and that's fine. And then sometimes we need to come and draw some boxes around it and be like, hey, this is 3 different absolutely batshit stupid crazy ways of doing essentially something that is very, very, very practical. We just need a more practical option on how to do it. So we can then come from here and be like, okay, how many different ways can we pull the cork out? What are our options? How many ways can we shear it out from the sides? There you go. This is just some images that I've already collected on this. Oh yeah, getting it out with a knife is shearing it out from the sides as well. I don't know if anybody suggested that, but that's an option. Pushing it from the bottom. Oh, we've already spoken about this. So yes, you are correct in that you can push it out from in a few different ways. The heat. So somebody suggested this, heating up the bottle. It is absolutely an option that you can do. And then for those of you who've seen it, using a shoe. I'm surprised not too many people actually suggested that. But yes, using a shoe. Cool. We talked about this and we've talked about this. And then this is sabering. So this GIF will play again. There you go. Sabering. Sabering doesn't actually work very well with a wine bottle. It works really well with a champagne bottle because it relies on having some internal pressure to get the crack to propagate the way you want it to. This is actually kind of dangerous to do with a wine bottle, but you can do it with champagne bottles surprisingly easily. This is not an endorsement for it, but yes, I've done it several times with champagne bottles. It's actually not that hard. Cool. Cool. How does a shoe help? Crazy Russian hacker, how to open a bottle of wine with the shoe. You put it in the shoe and you bang it on the door. I'll show you in a second. I've got a GIF for it. And what it does is the wine smacks into the cork and it slowly pushes the cork out of the bottle. And it does work. It is not something I would do very often, and I'll show you why in a second. Safety is the #1 priority. I don't know if he's still making videos. It's obviously not a great time for him at the moment, but yeah. All right, system as a solution. We talked about this in the lecture, and it is worth thinking about here. We very rarely, as engineers, make a standalone product that does only one thing and doesn't integrate with many other things. To be fair, opening wine bottles is actually quite a bad example in this case, in that a corkscrew has kind of one specific job and very rarely interacts with anything other than wine bottles. But often as we do engineering things, we do need to think about the big picture and the multiple parts. For example, the social and cultural aspects of what is going on here. If somebody brings me a $200 bottle of wine and kind of gifts it to me going, oh, that's lovely. I'm going to take my fucking boot off, stick it in there and bang it on a wall, would just absolutely not be an appropriate solution, right? It gets the wine out fine. But the whole system, which is a dinner party, or if you're at a fine dining restaurant, these things are unacceptable. Versus if you're in a backyard, if you're having a house party with a bunch of 18, 19-year-olds, let's put it in a shoe and bang it on the door. That's a great solution to the problem because it's fun. So being aware of the entire system is super duper important, okay? Okay, how are we going? Throw away the wine and go buy beer. We did address that already at the start. Yep, cool. Okay. You guys have got hey Hugo, a whole ton of solutions available to you. Where are our solutions? We've got all of these and many more, right? I didn't get all the ones that were in the chat. We've got like 50 different ways we can do this. How do you want to narrow it down? Let's be practical here. Let's narrow it down. How are we going to pick which of these is the best? Some of these are absolutely ridiculous. But why are they absolutely ridiculous? Do we actually have a good and logical reason for why some are better than others? Let's apply constraints and performance criteria. So if you remember from the lecture, I think I went a little too far. I did. Performance criteria are things where some is good, more is better. And constraints are yes or no things. So what can we say? This is acceptable. This is not acceptable. That's a constraint. And a performance criteria is the criteria on which we will assess something's performance. This is good. This is better. So if it's a sliding scale, it's performance criteria. If it's a yes or no, it's a constraint. These are terms that it takes a little bit of time to get used to. You will sometimes see the word objectives used in place of performance criteria. This is common in simulation spaces. It's good, it's kind of valid, it just gets confusing when you use the word objective to not confuse it with problem identification. People get confused between problem identification and objective. So I don't like the term objective, although you will see it in lots of textbooks and stuff like that. That's a bit of an aside. Performance criteria and constraints. How do we decide which one of our best solution spaces there are? So give me some things. What I want you to do now is write down either PC, performance criteria, equals, and then whatever you would like to write down. What are we rating this on? Or write down constraint equals whatever you would like a constraint to be. What do you think we should use to constrain our problem and to assess our solutions on? Constraint. Wine must be drinkable and safe to drink. All right, so step one here is when you do your constraints, try and keep them separable. So drinkable, safe to drink. I'm going to put a question mark on that one. Constraint, no cork in wine. Okay. Maybe. I could see that. Safety, cost, completion time. So now we've got a problem, right? Which one is it? Is safety a constraint or is it a performance criteria? Is it a yes or a no? Or is there a level of risk you're happy to adopt? And this is actually a really interesting one because sometimes it's a constraint and sometimes it's a performance criteria. I absolutely agree that cost is, you probably want the cheaper of the solutions. That's common. Let me know whether you think they're a constraint or a performance criteria, because this is actually mainly the point of this. It's figuring out which side of this table do these things go on. Performance criteria, no underage drinkers. This is the thing I can answer with a yes or a no question. Is there underage drinking? If yes, bad. If no, good. Which means by definition, it's a constraint. If I can answer it with a yes or a no, it's a constraint. I don't know how I'm going to affect this, but fine. Performance criteria, accessibility. Yep, I can give you that. Now, accessibility is hard to measure. So when you say accessibility, what do you mean? How would you measure this? Do you mean time? Do you mean effort? Do you mean cost? Do these look different? Can you be more specific here? Maybe accessibility should actually be 2 or 3 constraints. Performance criteria, taste of wine. Maybe. I think you would find a lot of wine purists would argue that if you affect the taste in anyway, then you've corrupted the wine, and thus it should be a constraint. But I believe that's an arguable point. Repeatability is a good one. Is it? How many bottles of wine do we have to open? Is it only one? Remember when we went all the way back to our problem definition in our scope? Did we scope it to be one bottle of wine? And if we did, it doesn't need to be repeatable. If it needs to be several bottles of wine, then absolutely repeatability is 100% a constraint. Risk could be one that you want to include here. Time to open, yep. Performance criteria, limited tools. Limited tools, so tools required would be how you would phrase this. Limited tools isn't, it's the backwards bit of logic. The solution requires lots of tools, not the other way around. But yeah, I get your point. Yes, Hugo, I'm aware we are getting to it. Performance speed. I'm with you. So, my idiot friends, I want you to hold on to this point. My idiot friends don't care if the wine tastes bad as long as we get drunk is something we're going to get to in like 3 or 4 slides time. So, that's a super duper important point that we are coming to. Cool. So this isn't everything, and we actually probably want to spend more time getting these. But in the interest of time, what we want to, the learning objective here is you'll have some things that you can answer with a yes or a no question. They are constraints. Then you'll have things that exist on a sliding scale, like these. These are performance criteria. When it comes to culling your list, apply your constraints first. Go through anything that would make it undrinkable, unsafe to drink, anything that puts the cork into the wine, if you want to consider that a constraint, and just wipe those things off the list. I don't love this one because depending on how expensive the bottle of the wine is, if you pushed the cork in and then just poured it into a glass, would that be an acceptable solution? In a fine dining restaurant, no. Would your friends consider that an acceptable solution? Maybe they would. Maybe you meant here like no detectable cork in the wine. Not dateable. Detectable is what I meant to write there. Noticeable cork in the wine. Is that what we're trying to get here? No effect on the wine, or at least not a noticeable effect on the wine. So sometimes this wording can be super duper important. Sometimes it doesn't matter, but sometimes it needs to be super important because it might inadvertently wipe out a potential solution that didn't deserve to be wiped out. Cork adds flavor? I'm sure it does. Yeah, so you get this. And by the way, as you do this, you'll quite often realize that your scope or your problem definition was insufficient. And you actually need to go back up to your scope and be like, hey, we never wrote down how many bottles of wine we were opening or how long we had to open them or whatever. And you'll often be like, oh, meant to modify my scope. Oh, modified my scope. Better go and add another constraint. And you'll iterate through this quite a few times. Or you'll realize you don't actually understand your problem half as well as you thought you understood your problem. And you need to better understand maybe the people that you're working with or your client or something like that. Okay. Now, we've talked about this a little bit already, but it is worth noting that some things, it is possible to be both a constraint and a performance criteria. You want to be super duper careful when you do this, but things like cost or time can actually sit on both sides. So you might have a cost which is, it can't cost more than $15. Let's say the bottle of wine was a $10 bottle of wine. You might want to say hard constraint, no corkscrew that costs more than $15 is worth buying. Not doing it, that's an unacceptable solution because it costs more than the damn wine to start with. I could see that as a hard yes-no constraint. But I can also see you then saying, well, the $1 corkscrew is cheaper and thus better than the $2 corkscrew. So something can technically be a constraint and a performance criteria. When it's a constraint, it's something you can put a hard, don't even talk to me about this thing, it costs more than the goddamn bottle of wine, piss off, versus, oh, wonder which one of these two is better. So it can be in both columns, but it's dangerous, so be really careful with it. Cool. And then, as we've spoken about, but a lot of the time, these things are in competition with each other. The most expensive option might be the fastest option. Which one of them is more valuable to you? Somebody suggested at one stage to send your friend to go and get a corkscrew. That might be not valuing your friend's time very much or your friend's money very much as you value your own time and your own money or something like that, which could be really valid if you're in the middle of cooking dinner. Sending your friend to get the corkscrew is a really good idea, right? So sometimes you'll realize your resources are more abundant than others, and you're constantly trading them off. When we talk about project management in a couple of weeks, we're going to talk about this in depth. Cool, this is fine. So we could go here, and in the interest of time, I think we might be able to skip this section, but we could go through here and we could apply our constraints to our list of solutions, and we'd be able to come in and go like, oh, could we saber it? Actually, depending on whether you would consider sabering it a safety risk or not, that may or may not stay. Heat the neck up, again, may or may not stay. Burn the cork is probably out. We didn't want to get cork fragments in the wine, so we can probably put a line through that. Eating the bottle is absolutely unsafe. We can probably put a line through that. Getting the corkscrew stays. Shaking the bottle until the cork comes out maybe stays, maybe goes. Dissolving the cork almost certainly goes. So we can go through our list and just go, you're dead to me, you're dead to me, you're dead to me, you're dead to me. All right. Now we've got a shorter list, and every single solution in this list is acceptable. Some might be better than others, but all are acceptable. That's the purpose of your constraints, okay? It's to get you to a list where everything that's left is acceptable. And if there are things on your list that are not acceptable, you're missing a constraint. So if somebody shouted some dumbass idea out and everybody in the room knows it's a dumbass idea, but you haven't been able to wipe it out with one of your constraints, you're either missing a constraint or it's not a dumbass idea. And you just haven't found a way to make it practical yet. So one of those two things. It's a really good way of checking that you've actually documented all of your constraints. Cool, 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 cool. I think we've gone through most of this already. Being careful about some of our wording can be important here, but I think we've talked about that enough already. Oh, this is why you don't do the shoe method, by the way. Bang. It can be considered unsafe. Okay. All right. Now we come to performance criteria, and this is what you're going to need some of this for your report. So I want to get through this tonight, hopefully before 7. We got kind of 10 minutes left. We're going to get through this. At this stage, all of your solutions should be workable. They should be acceptable. So they're the things you come and you throw in here. Cost, time, safety, accessibility. I don't know if there's some better ones to use as the example. I'm obviously not trying to get them all. Taste of wine. Let's do taste of wine, because I think that's a more important discussion. All right. Now, you would have more than this, right? You already named more than this. For the purpose of this discussion, I'm limiting it to just these 4, but you should have more. Now what you need to do, the thing that actually makes this super duper relevant, can I copy these? I think this will work, is we need to weight them. You need to put them in order of importance. And there are quite a few different strategies you can use here. Which one you use doesn't super duper make a massive difference, but you need to weight them. So the way I like to do this is I pick one of them and I say, all right, this is my weighting of 1 is going to go to cost. How much does it cost? Has a weighting of 1, and I'm going to compare my other performance criteria to that. So if you're at a dinner party, you've had some friends over for dinner, they've brought the bottle of wine, you don't have the corkscrew. What's more important, cost or time in this solution to you? Well, actually, sorry, not to you, to the people at the dinner party. So Dylan's got friends over, there's no corkscrew, Is time more important or is cost more important? You think time? You think time? Think cost? Time? Most of you say, I would say time. If I've got people over, I'll be like, here's 20 bucks, go and find a corkscrew. It's more important to me that time. Is it twice as important as cost? Don't know. I would need more details to know this at this stage. But at this stage, I'm going to say it's more important than cost. What about safety? I would say safety is way more important because I'm not in this case going to do something unsafe. I've got friends over for dinner. That's just not something I'm going to do. Now, I acknowledge that you won't all necessarily see this, and it's not always the case. And we're going to do an example where safety will not have this high of a score in a minute. By doing something like this, by putting it at a 10, I'm actually essentially removing this as a performance criteria. If I'm going to do this, if I'm going to come in and say safety is a 10 and everything else is a 1 or a 2, I'm kind of doing the wrong thing. It's probably a constraint for me at that stage. Maybe I should take it out of my performance criteria and make it a constraint. So, yeah, it depends on your environment. Maybe it's a 5. Let's say it's a 5. Dylan's pretty happy to do something kind of dangerous. So let's say safety's a 5, and taste of the wine for me, I'm going to say is also a 5. Super duper important because my friends have purchased this thing for me. And now I can compare all of my different solutions and go, solution 1 is whatever. Maybe it's a very expensive solution, but it's fast, it's safe, and it won't ruin the cost of the wine, the quality of the wine. That's actually really, really good. I don't really care that it's expensive. That doesn't bother me that much in this environment. There might be another solution that's cheap and it's fast and it's super duper safe, like pushing the cork in or something, but it could ruin the taste of the wine. And that's gonna do really badly on my weighted performance criteria for my target market, me and my friends. Let's now move to a different target market. Let's go to fine dining. So you're in an expensive restaurant, a place where you're going to spend $200 or $300 on your meal with a first date, for example. Now what's this look like? Cost becomes very low of importance, right? Time actually probably becomes maybe low importance as well. This is a date, like this is a fancy restaurant. You're going to put an order in, the waiter's going to walk away, and they're not going to come back for quite a few minutes. If it takes that waiter 5 minutes to get the bottle open, it maybe doesn't matter as much. It depends. Safety, absolutely important. 5, 10, safe. They're not going to do something dangerous. Taste, absolutely important. So this is kind of similar in ratios to before, but it's turned everything up a notch. If we come into here, now this one I'm going to let you guys have a crack at. House party. So this is now you. This is you with your drunk friends on a Friday evening. What's important to you? I'm actually going to add an extra column to the right of this, which we haven't spoken about yet, if I can figure out how to insert. Why can't I insert a column to the right? Oh, okay. Well, maybe I'm not going to add a column. That's all right. Let's do this now. Yes, fun is 1. Okay, that's what I wanted to add. I wanted to add an extra column here, which was fun. So feel free to, whilst I mess around with adding a text box, because I'm super duper lazy, and I'm just going to go text box. Fun. How fun is it? You get to rate on fun as well. So give me some things. Cost minus 10. So lanes come in here. This is going to be some different people now. Giving me a minus 10 for cost, which I didn't expect at all. Where'd they go? Where was their 10 for time? So time's super important. Minus 10 for safety. All right, so we don't do minuses. So what we're going to do is 0.1s, okay? Taste is 0.1. You don't care. Give me a ranking for fun. Give me a full set. Give me a cost, a time, just like Lane did. Give me all 5 of them. How would you rank them personally? So you get 5 for cost, important to you, 3 for time, 2 for safety, 1 for taste, and fun gets an 8. Yeah, be an 8. 0.1, 3. Oh, you don't have all 4 of them in 0.1, 0.5. We don't have a fun rating. 1, 10. Oh, you don't have a fun rating either. Yeah, that looks like it has enough. 0.2, 10, 0.01, 1, and you want to give this a 7. Okay. 8, 8, 5, 7, and 10. 5, 8, 2, 5, and 8. There is a method to my madness. I'll put one more in. Okay, I'll put this one in because it's going to help me make my point. I know you guys are having some fun, and obviously the intention of this is to have some fun with it and put some fun extremes in. But let's look at these. Are these useful to us? So if I look at you, these aren't solutions now, right? These are customers, is what we've got here. What I want you to take away from this is, I copied the wrong thing. A whole bunch of different customers gave this all different ratings. And you may not agree with any of these ratings, and that's fine. But remember how we spoke about the fact that you are not your customer. You need to be able to empathize with what your customers care about, and then you need to be able to make decisions with that. You also need to acknowledge that the margin of error on these things is high. So I'm not trying to look at splitting the difference ever between a 7 and an 8. But I can split the difference between everything in the fun column is above a 5, and a whole bunch of these other ones are below a 1. Okay, this is painting a picture for me. My customers, my target market, cares more about the novelty here than they do about a bunch of other things. They also really care about time. They want something fun, and they want it to be fast, and this is more important than anything else. All right, now I can start to rate my solutions on this. They don't really care about safety. They don't give a shit how it tastes. They do care a little bit about cost. So now I can come through my list here and be like, ooh, this is fun. It's fast. It might affect the safety a bit. It might affect the taste, but my customers don't really care that much. This is looking like a good solution. This is slow. It's fun, but it's slow. Maybe it's not as good. And I can work my way through my list and I can evaluate my designs. What you will need is to do this for your target market. And that's really important. You need to be able to figure out, if we go back to our report, weighted performance criteria for the target market identified. Remember up here, description of client, target market, and customer as appropriate. The reason you need to define who your target market is you will weight your performance criteria according to who they are. This is not an easy thing to do, and I'm going to need you to put some brain cells into it. You're not at this point yet. Like, wait until we've done the week 5 tutorial exercise. I'm not saying go away and do this right now. I'm just saying what was in the week 3 lecture, how we did performance criteria, how we did constraints, how we did weighted criteria. That's coming in your report as well. So joining all the dots. I told you a couple of weeks ago that your lecture content and your tutorial content and your assignments would feel a bit disjointed at the start, and we were going to bring them together. This is us bringing them together, okay? So, from here, we are essentially done. Getting all of this correct allows us to define the best solution to the problem. And the best solution is the one that best fits your customer. Okay? So, with that, we have done what we needed to do today. Thank you for being part of this live stream. I know it's been big. I know there was a lot in it. We did the assessment and we did the worked example together. So thank you for bearing with me for a very hot and sweaty 2 hours. I'm dying here. If you have any final questions, feel free to chuck them up. Otherwise, please go and enjoy your Thursday night, everybody. Thank you very much. You've been wonderful. That example clearly doesn't work without all of you engaging and talking with me and being part of it. I rely on you so much for that 1 hour. So thank you for being awesome, everybody. Enjoy your night if you want to go. If you have any final questions, I'll try and answer them for you now. Should you be buying bulk energy drinks from Amazon? Oh, look, I should be buying bulk energy drinks from Amazon, and I'm an engineer, so, you know. Yeah, is the template thing going to be posted in the A2 Discord? Absolutely, to the point where I'm going to do it now so I don't forget. I'm also going to post this. If you find any typos or whatever in it, please let me know because you saw me catch one or two of them tonight already. I guarantee you there's some more. The reason I'm soft releasing it is so that I can fix them before tomorrow. So please let me know if you find a typo. Do not claim to have proofread it at all yet. Copy Dropbox link. There you go. It is in there, and it is... Oh, wrong button. Move all embeds. It is a pinned message. So you can always get to it by going to pinned messages once this chat fills up with stuff. I'm also going to post the title page. And I am going to pin that as well. Thank you for the reminder, Lane. It's all good. Defining the best solution took a long time and somebody saved the bottle an hour ago. Yeah, if I wasn't doing this as a worked example, you could legitimately do that whole design process in like 2 minutes in much less time than it would take somebody to go and get a corkscrew or not. But you raise a valid question. When is it worth the effort versus just do the dumb, obvious idea and brute force it and get it over with is a really, really good concern. And I agree with you. Sometimes it's not worth it. Just do the dumb, fast, brute force thing. Since you weren't there in the week 2 lecture, I wasn't assigned into a group. Groups weren't assigned in the lecture. I'm going to run Sorting Hat. Hold on. Let me run Sorting Hat. Hopefully you can now be put, well, okay, that takes like 25 minutes to run. And in 25 minutes, hopefully you'll have whatever roles you need to have. And then hopefully in your shoot, oh, you make your shoot. Yeah, you're good. You're good, Ivan. You'll get put in a group in your shoot and you'll be fine, man. Don't worry about it. Spending 6 hours automating the thing versus spending 6 minutes doing the thing. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So we need to make a performance criteria table for our assessment. Yeah, yeah, you do. So, hold on. I'll bring it up for you. Weighted performance criteria for the target market identified. With the wine bottle example, do you need to acknowledge the cork could already be broken when you receive the bottle? Yes, this is a really good point. So, I went through this quickly. Here we go. In scoping, assumptions. So right there. That's where we could have talked about this. What do you know about the wine bottle? What do you know about the wine? What do you know about your friends? What are you assuming in these cases? Absolutely, the cork could be busted by the time you get it. Or the cork could be really fragile. Or the wine bottle could be really fragile because it's really old, or whatever. There's many, many things that we often would want to check those assumptions first and then scope within that. It's really, really important thing to do, especially with your projects. There's a whole bunch of things that you should be asking questions to your tutors saying, hey, is there any reason we can't just bypass this huge, big obstacle that's in our way by doing this thing? Because sometimes the answer is, absolutely, you can do that. Go for it. That's fine. We just had never thought of that before. And sometimes it's like, no, you're missing a key piece of information. So getting your assumptions known is really, really helpful in the scoping stage. It's difficult when you're new to this, but it's really important. It's a really important skill to develop over time. Essentially, we can do most of the assignment now. Yeah, you can. So the intention is if you did some decent work on your competency this week, which depending on your project you may or may not have, but let's say you're in a project where you did a bunch of work on your competency this week. Once I release the lecture videos, arguably tomorrow, you will have absolutely everything you need to complete the assignment, and you could arguably complete it by Monday and get 100%. You won't, because that's an absurd amount of work to do in a 2-day period. But yes, the point of by tomorrow, Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, you'll have absolutely everything you need to complete your assignment. How many performance criteria should we have, or is that dependent on the specific project? Not only is that dependent on the specific project, it's dependent on how you write your performance criteria. So we mentioned a little bit of this when we were talking about accessibility, right? Saying, should this be 1 or should it be 3? And it depends on how much accuracy you're going for here. Remember, this isn't a very high fidelity tool. Where did our things go? This isn't a very high fidelity tool. It's a big picture kind of tool. And if you've got enough fidelity here to know what your best solution is, then you've got enough fidelity to know what your best solution is. And that's all you need. If you can't decide, see if you need more performance criteria. The thing to be super aware of, though, is that you don't accidentally count the same thing twice. So the example I use in the lecture is when we're talking about travel, do I need a car to be both powerful and fast? And the answer is generally no. If it is powerful, it will inherently be fast. So be careful that you don't count the same thing twice. So in that way, less performance criteria is better. But sometimes you need more. I would say 4 is insufficient. Something like 5 to 10 is probably the right number. But very much based on your project and how you and your team decide to word these things. Our client is DSTG, so what would be the customers? The audience and the DSTG itself. Yeah, so your client is DST, DTS, DSTG, DST group is your client. You have up to 3 customers. So the audience members is 1, the presenters is 1, the admin staff are 1. They're the 3 obvious ones, but you could consider others as well. But I would say you have 1 or 2 clients. DSTG is a client and the university is a client. So you arguably have 2 clients and you arguably have 3 customers. Audience members, speakers, admin office, organizers, whatever you want to call the people who do all the actual work behind the scenes. So yeah, it's a really interesting one, and you have to. That's kind of why there's 3. Why I did 3 things here: dinner, fancy restaurant, and house party, was to compensate for the fact that some of you have more than 1 customer. And it's a thing. You just do this 3 times. You don't need to do it 3 times for your report. You just need to do it once for your report. But yeah. Cool. Do we have anyone left? Does anybody have any questions? I mean, the viewer numbers are plummeting, as they should be. That's totally fair. If you're done, you're done, guys. The entirety of Fiji is not your customer. Many Fijians live in cities with plumbing and running water. You have a very specific target market for Fiji. You have isolated villages. Very specific. You need to be specific here. If you try and be too general, it's something we didn't really talk about. I'd hoped it'd be a little implicit here, but it's probably something I should have stated. You need to be specific enough with your target market here. Don't try and solve the problem for everybody in the world, because you can see even amongst ENGG1500 students, the concept of getting agreements is just non-existent. So try and carve your target market out very well defined. This is a tricky thing to do. I'm not saying this is easy, but try and be well defined. And if you can't be because you've got more than one client, then carve it out twice for those two clients. Cool beans. All right. I think with that, I am going to call it. I will see you guys all next week. Hopefully we can do some less stressful stuff, and we'll hopefully review some more assignment things by then. Good night, everybody. Thank you very much.